All right, we are live. Welcome everybody watching us on X and on YouTube and on other channels live and in the future. My name is Michael Pasco, aka Clive Onchain. I am the ecosystem growth lead for the Horizen Foundation, and I am so glad to welcome everybody to our mainnet launch live stream today. We are joined by several esteemed guests. I'll go with my in-house peeps first. Rob Viglione, CEO of Horizen Labs. Rolf Versluis, Director of Growth for Horizen Foundation. Both of them co-founders of the original Horizen project. We also have Dom Cusimano, Senior Product Manager at Horizen Labs. And then our guests from around the ecosystem, Matt Katz, CEO of Caldera, Jonah Ehrlich of Den, Meredith joining us from Stork, and perhaps a couple other visitors popping in through our morning. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, guests. And we yesterday announced the milestone of our Horizen mainnet going live. And this is a big story for Horizen, of course, as this is a new phase, but not a new project. Horizen has been central to the on-chain privacy game for 7-8 years running and are pioneers in this space. And observing the benefits and the challenges of privacy in the real world has led the team in this direction to migrate the legacy Horizen chain and token to the EVM native ecosystem, the Base ecosystem, where the Zen token exists on Base, and now Horizen mainnet as an L3 on Base for privacy-centric applications and on-chain development. We're super excited to play this role to bring practical privacy to business and individuals on-chain. I want to kick it around to our guests, and I really want to start with you, Ralph. Actually, you're one of the Horizen founders, OG of the project, and you've seen the full evolution and the benefits and the challenges of being a privacy-centric project in this space. Maybe you can talk to us about the evolution of what you've seen in the market and how people have been reacting to privacy early, and then in the last few years' time to how the market views privacy today.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Michael. Rob and I got together, early 2016. We met up in person to talk about how we could take this privacy technology and get it to everyone. At that point, Zen Cash, as it was called, we later rebranded to Horizen, was just like Bitcoin, except it had privacy capabilities just like Zcash. And as coming from owning a business, I saw that in order for the crypto space to expand, and back then we were thinking about experimenting with things to help improve Bitcoin. And since then, the space has gone in a bunch of different directions. But as a business owner, I'm like, you got to have business level privacy. So that's why privacy is so important. And by business level privacy, I mean, as a business owner, you have to be able to take payments from your customers, pay your suppliers, and pay your employees, and have nobody else see what those payments are, because you don't want your competitors seeing what your customers are paying you. And same thing goes for everybody else. We have that now in our existing financial system. We trust the banks to do the payments and not share those with anybody else. And meanwhile, so we had that part, the private payments. And the other great thing about the crypto space and how we started was that it's permissionless. You don't need anybody's permission to do payments with Zen. You just get yourself a wallet and you can start accepting payments and making payments. And being in the crypto space and the Bitcoin space, I've had multiple bank accounts shut down just for being involved in the space. And I know there's other industries that have had bank accounts shut down in other countries in the world. Sometimes it's really hard to get a bank account, especially a US dollar bank account. So we saw that and we decided, the product's not perfect, but it addresses a large part of what we can do in the payment space. And so we moved forward with that. What we learned over the years was that it's really important for businesses to stay in compliance with the local regulatory organizations. You have to be able to show that you're paying your taxes, that you're not paying criminals, that you work with your accountants, and if there's any kind of subpoena from a law enforcement organization, you need to be able to share those records. So we didn't have that at the beginning, but we had the very idea of what I call business level privacy, to be able to do these types of payments without other people, without your competitors seeing it. So that's how we started out.
Love the backstory, Rolf. Thanks for that. I'm later on going to turn it to you, Rob, to talk about the evolution as well and where we are today, what you're most excited about. But I want to make sure that we're hearing from our guests today as well. And we're joined by a great slate of blockchain all-stars who make up our infrastructure partners on Horizen that help get us from 0 to 1 and create an environment in which app developers can bring best-in-class applications to Horizen. I want to start with you, Matt Katz from Caldera. Tell us about the role that Caldera plays in blockchain overall and how you're working with Horizen and what we can expect from Horizen, the chain, with regard to performance, reliability, and scalability powered by Caldera.
Yeah, thanks so much, Michael, aka Clive. I'm still not used to calling you Michael, but
you don't have to if you don't want to, Matt.
I don't have to. Okay,
that's right.
So I'm Matt, co-founder, CEO of Caldera. Caldera's role broadly in the blockchain ecosystem comes in two parts. The thing we're most known for is what we're calling our rollup engine. Basically, we make it as easy as possible for people to launch customizable, dedicated blockchains. And of course, the Horizen L3 is one of those. And then we also have a chain connectivity protocol and interoperability protocol called the meta layer, which makes it easy for people to bridge stables, majors, and native project tokens across chains. In terms of our role with Horizen, we're providing a lot of the underlying infrastructure for the new Horizen base L3. So that includes things like, the blockchain sequencer, RPC nodes, block explorer, bridge, that sort of thing. In terms of performance, I know this is really important to the Horizen team, and we work with you guys to figure out the options that would make basically the chain as performant as possible. From a user perspective or a developer perspective, performance-wise, there are kind of three main things you need. You want low fees on transactions, you want high transaction throughput, and then you want low block times, right? Lower latency. And we've chosen the stack and figured out the right configuration basically to provide the maximum that we can on all of those three things. So it should be just like using an EVM chain, but a smoother experience than a lot of other EVM chains, including ETH1.
Very good, Matt. Very excited to be working with you and the Caldera team. I know Horizen Labs has worked with you all before and that you're at the very top of the game. So feel very confident in having Caldera power the roll up and some other core components for us at Horizen. Andrew, I want to introduce you to the floor here from Gold Sky and ask you to share what types of services and functionality does Gold Sky provide? I know you kind of sit on top, maybe if you look at an abstract sense, on top of the chain itself to provide some additional service and functionality to developers. And how do you improve the experience for dApps and developers building on Horizen?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the intro, Michael. Hey, everyone. So I'm Andrew. I do customer success at Gold Sky. And for those of you unfamiliar, essentially Gold Sky, we're a data indexing infrastructure platform. So our primary goal really is to just streamline the experience for all developers who are using on-chain data. So essentially what a subgraph is, it looks at on-chain data and converts it into a data structure that is designed to be queried so that it's really efficient as far as extracting any kind of on-chain events. So anytime you're trying to power an application or do analytics, And, if latency and just speed is really important, this is where indexing is a super critical component, because it basically just brings down the cost of maintaining the infrastructure, of, anything related to speed. And then reliability is, of course, top of mind as well. So I think it's a really exciting time, as you guys are launching, going to market, because we're seeing this huge focus of, Web 2 and fintech companies kind of, really quickly onboarding into Web 3. And I think a lot of them are looking at, compliance, privacy, exactly what you guys are building, and thinking that this is, not only a nice to have, but it really is kind of a showstopper if it's not there. So really excited to see how this big wave of fintech and Web 2 kind of comes on to Web 3. And a lot of them, they're going to need to use the data that, they're going to be, whatever's happening on chain, they're going to need to track that for analytics. They're going to need to use that on-chain data to power applications. So this is all just like really, really critical infra. And especially as we're onboarding a lot more, retail users, institutions, that usability we're used to in Web 2, where it's snappy and it's reliable and it's fast, it's going to kind of be expected by all these, new waves of users. So really excited to be the infra to, allow that to happen. Fast data, efficient operations, just to kind of eliminate headaches from developers, so that they can, rather than focusing on maintaining this indexing infra, they can just kind of abstract that away to us. We'll help out with that, and then focus on the, the builder experience, the user experience, actually implementing all the strategies. So excited to work with you guys and see what we can kind of ship out. It's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming.
Very nice, Andrew. Glad to have Gold Sky part of the stack and making things easy for developers and performant for the applications we're seeing come to Horizen. Also in the data space, Stork and Meredith Pitkoff, the CEO and co-founder of Stork, is joining us. Meredith, real-time on-chain data is more important than ever. How does Stork bring this vital data to Horizen, and what types of apps are relying on Stork data today?
Yeah, first off, thanks so much for having me on, and congrats on Mainnet. We're really excited to be one of your launch partners. So Stork is, we're an Oracle protocol, and basically what that means is we're reliable for acting as a bridge for making any off-chain information usable and verifiable on-chain. The primary use cases that we really focus around tend to be in both the decentralized finance space as well as prediction markets. And so what that looks like is our specialty, our bread and butter, is really providing different types of price feeds or financial market data, and making it the real-time streams usable on various blockchains. So for Horizen specifically, we are integrated as a poll-based model, if folks are familiar with the different types of oracles. But basically what that means is we offer data via API services that is cryptographically signed, and then tooling to automate the process of putting updates on chain as needed for individual protocols. It's really easy to get started. Leveraging our services, our automated tooling that we have, you can start pushing data on chain within a matter of minutes. And then in terms of the different types of assets that we support, we have a pretty wide breadth of different assets in our catalog. So it includes cryptocurrencies, whether traded on centralized exchanges or decentralized exchanges on any chains, as well as redemption rates for various crypto assets. We also support RWA feeds, so that covers FX, metals, commodities, and most recently equities. That even goes for 24/5, so beyond traditional market hours. And then most recently, we started branching out into support for prediction market data as well. So what that looks like is we can support various data points from both Polymarket and Kalshi on the pricing side as well as resolution. And then you asked about who's using us. So I'll say probably the largest concentration of customers that we have tend to be on the derivative side. So we work with a lot of perpetuals and some options protocols. We have supported over $2 trillion in perpetual trading volume to date. And some of the names that folks would probably be familiar with are Lighter, Ostium, EdgeX, Extended, Paradex, etc. We work with about 6 to 7 of the top perp dexes by trading volume, 24-hour trading volume on any given day. And then on the borrow lens side, we have integrations with Morpho and Euler, and we work with the top risk curators there, as well as native borrow lens on various chains.
Amazing. Stork is definitely outside getting it done, and the reason crypto never sleeps is we're getting real-time price feeds. So thank you, Meredith, for keeping us awake 24/7 in crypto. And some of those use cases that we named, I'd be remiss if I didn't shortly run through the list of applications that we have coming to Horizen. They do include privacy-centric prediction markets, perps, DeFi, and other applications I'm going to name here shortly. I want to kick it to Jonah Ehrlich at Den to bring us home on the infra side. Jonah, Den, as some people are familiar, maybe not everybody, enables multi-sig wallet capabilities on blockchains, including Horizen. I want to ask you a little bit of a different question than these other folks. Can you talk us through when and where in a project's life cycle it makes sense to use or not use multi-sig wallets? Like, where does this come into play for a builder? And are there any best practices for developers that you can share on this front?
Definitely. Well, first off, thank you to Clive and the Horizen team for having us and for the wonderful partnership we've had with them for quite a while now. It's always fun to work with the Horizen team. Everyone is always very happy and thoughtful. To provide some context here, I think everyone here knows what a multi-sig wallet is, but for those that don't, it is a wallet that requires multiple signers to sign off on a transaction. And to get at the heart of the question of when should you start using a multi-sig versus a single EOA wallet, if you're a project, it should really be from day one. There are some cases for using individual EOA wallets for some of your more peripheral activities as a project. But if you're doing anything like securing smart contract permissions, managing a large treasury, you should be using a multi-sig wallet from day one for higher levels of security, segregated controls, better governance across your organization. I would say the one exception that I see from folks that really makes sense for using an individual wallet instead of a multi-sig is for short-term payments and operations. So let's say, for example, you have a finance team that is paying out vendors on a monthly basis, and they're doing a large number of payments. Some teams still prefer to do those payments from their multi-sig, which using Den's multi-sig, you can actually do in batch. So you can pay all your vendors in one transaction. But some folks prefer to send out a monthly budget to a finance team with an individual wallet so that they can individually remit those payments in a more operationally efficient fashion. So I think the core takeaway here really is that when you are using a multi-sig, you are sacrificing operational efficiency and speed for security. And the question you want to be asking yourself is, when do you need a lot of speed and you're okay taking risk with those assets, with those controls? And when do you really need a high degree of security in a way that will protect your funds and protect the controls on your smart contracts?
Appreciate the primer. Jonah, glad to have you in the mix. I believe that multi-sigs on Horizen can be created by going to safe.horizen.io. So thank you for the integration and the continued work that we do together. I see we were also just joined by Juan, or JRP, of the Third Web team. Juan, welcome to the mix. Glad to have Third Web part of the Horizen ecosystem enablement stack, the infra stack. Third Web has been doing this now for a number of years. You have so many different integrations for developers. How does Third Web contribute to the developer ecosystem and functionalities for what a developer will find on Horizen? And I see your note there. If we're having some technical difficulties on your end, we can certainly come back around to you while that loads in. I see a spinning icon. I'm going to do that one. We'll come back to you here soon. Rob Viglione, Zencash, founder, Horizen Labs CEO. Tell us how we made this migration from this cypherpunk privacy to regulatory compliant privacy, and what the opportunity is there that you see for Horizen, and then maybe even peeling back the curtain on some of the ZK and TEE based solutions that the Horizen Labs team is exploring for Horizen deployment.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, a ton to talk about. Almost don't know where to start. I don't want to take up too much time because I also want to hear from Dom, like on the product side. And there's just like a big shout out to like the early team members who aren't on the call right now, and early community members. We've got Chronic, we've got Gustavo, we've got Rowan, and kind of like a long list of people who honestly should be here. It would be really cool to have them or still here in the community. And then also our new partners, like really love hearing like how like we've just really upgraded a lot, frankly. And just the little thread that I'll say here is at Horizen Labs, like we were clearly the early or the first builder in Horizen building the protocol. We used to do everything ourselves. And I can say with the group of specialists that we have on this call right now, like across the stack, we're doing it right now by actually having like these awesome organizations part of that from the very start. And it's a big difference. We're moving a lot faster. And frankly, everything's a lot better than it was when we were the only builders. So anyway, all that kind of background out there, the decision to move over here was like, those who have been tracking us from the Zencash days through the early days of Horizen to the interoperability protocol, all the ZK, R&D and work that we've been doing to this decision. It was not an easy decision to deprecate an L1, right? And it's an interesting and unique thing to have done. And that we are an OG, cypherpunk sort of project that was 2016 vintage, and here we are, like with this migration to being an L3 on base. I never would have foreseen that, but I could not be happier in it. And the reason, there's multiple reasons for it, but to be frank, we're lucky to be able to have a renewal of our initial vision of bringing privacy out there into the world in many different ways. Where the tech back in 2016 for ZK was not where, it basically like we couldn't fulfill like the words that we were using, our goals, our ambitions of like this application environment for ZK just technically wasn't there. Like the core tech was too slow, too cumbersome. The proof systems that exist today, the ZK VMs that exist just weren't there. So like the world is different today than it was back then. So for us, the decision to kind of deprecate and just like accept that reality, like not just accept it, embrace that reality and figure out how do we charge into it and actually be able to get out like the original vision. How do we get this kind of like clustered application rich environment for privacy out there quickly, efficiently, and all the things that like Matt was talking about with like, speed, throughput, costs, and so forth. Like this was the route. And what we did with the decision to move into the base ecosystem was just an acknowledgement of like, what's the ecosystem that best matches where we want to go, like where we can actually have the biggest marginal like value add, right? It's not just like let's replicate privacy everywhere. You've got Aztecs, you've got Aleos, you've got other options out there, but it's more where do we go to an ecosystem that really needs us, that really needs this and wants it. And like if you listen to like Brian Armstrong or Jesse Pollack, from Coinbase to Base, they really value privacy. They really get it. They have that kind of original ethos that we share. That privacy is like a fundamental human right, but they have the platform, the distribution, and the firepower to actually bring it to the world. So that was the decision, and it's an amazing gap to fill because you don't have like privacy execution environment in the base ecosystem. We didn't, like a week ago. Now we do. It's called Horizen, and that's pretty amazing. It's a starting point. So anyway, like really could not be more excited for where we are right now because that original vision. That I'm not going to say just Rolf and I had because we had a phenomenal early team and community members who really we came up with this vision together. We shared it, embodied it, and now here we are. It's just like amazing to see it come together with just a whole new, crew of people that are, like really geared up and have the talent and the ambition to make this thing happen.
Well, thank you to you, Rob, Rolf, Chronic, Gustavo, the other OGs that you named for being a part of this origin story and getting us to where we are today. I want to kick it to you, Dom, Senior Product Manager at Horizen Labs. We've talked about the infra and the tech stack supporting Horizen. We also know that Horizen Labs is working on some privacy tech to bake right into the chain and Horizen protocol, essentially, to bring this regulatory compliant capability to the base ecosystem, the EVM world. Maybe you can tell us what your team has been working on, Dom, and what developers can look at as some early functionality in the next quarter or so that you expect to become available from your team at Horizen Labs.
Yeah, sure. So just to piggyback a little bit off of what Rob was saying before, um, moving towards the base ecosystem and leaving the L1 behind, I think was a really smart move because it allows our team to put our resources into what we know best, and that is working on privacy features and tech. So, you know, big picture now is I think this is a very exciting time in crypto, and I believe that the next wave of adoption is really going to be really surpass everything that we've seen before. So what that has allowed us to do is like take a step back and really take a look at the market and see what the next stage is going to be, and essentially that's going to really bring on a lot of the bigger institutions. Everybody sees the value in blockchains, but everybody's user needs are a little bit different. And end users that have adopted crypto early, they see that the advantages that come with that. But also institutions or traditional finance sees the advantages that come from that, but their user needs are quite different, and sometimes they're in there's challenges for bringing everybody together. So I believe that when it comes to privacy, you have to get in accordance end users, institutions, as well as regulators, and how can we make a compromise between all of them in order to make this next wave of adoption really positive and move forward quickly. And that really ties into exactly what we're building. So we want to build something where end users could really feel that their data is safe. And it's all really about data protection, right, at the end of the day. So end users don't want their data tampered with or stolen or what have you. And that is like sort of like a drawback somewhat of blockchain. Everything is public. So how can we take the advantages of the public ecosystem, but make data private in an auditable way, in a safe way? So we really want to bring all of that together where institutions could say, yes, I want to be able to show regulators this information, but end users should know that their information is also safe, right? So Horizen Labs is now building out a protocol and a new product that will be integrated within the Horizen chain, which will allow for private, easy way for developers and institutions to do private computation on chain, but also make that auditable and make it auditable based on what both end users really want and also what the institutions want. So it's programmable compliance, and applications will be able to set their own compliance rules and hierarchy. So who could see data, when they could see it, and what thresholds need to be reached in order to kind of do that sort of thing. And it really also improves upon the existing nature of blockchain as well, right? So how do we get like a truly private execution in an audible fashion? So that's a little bit of what we're building and what you could see from Horizen in the next few months.
Thanks for that, Dom. I want to highlight the other amazing builders that we already have committed to deploying on Horizen that are bringing their own privacy implementations with the apps that are deploying soon. And most of these are in the DeFi and finance category. Some are in other business applications that I think are very exciting for Horizen and the future of blockchain. I'm going to rattle these off right now. We have 14 applications that are launching on Horizen this month and the beginning of Q1. We have Zendex, Obscura, Lighter.im, Naira, DarkSwap, Tachyon, Stratos, Polypay, Gambler, Reveal Market, AdPriva, Data Hubs, Gata, AccessFi. These are decentralized exchanges, private bridges, onboarding, offboarding, perps, payroll, verified documentation provenance, prediction markets, display advertising, a whole variety of use cases that are immediately relevant in today's blockchain world and tomorrow's on-chain business world that we're so excited to see the beginning of our ecosystem form. We've attracted many builders through our 100 million Zen token ecosystem fund that we operate in conjunction with our partners at Thrive Protocol. We are so enthused by the amount of privacy building we see happening within the Ethereum ecosystem right now. We saw it at DevConnect most recently in Buenos Aires that privacy is really central to the narrative right now on blockchain and on Ethereum and Base, and we're very enthusiastic about this list of applications that we have coming to Horizen. I want to hear from our partners again. You're all builders in this space. You're all individual participants in blockchain. I would love to know what use cases or applications for blockchain privacy are you all excited about? And I want to start with you, Meredith, and then work it in reverse order. Jonah, Matt, Andrew, and then we'll kick it to you, JRP at Third Web, to share, and also a little bit more about how you're helping to enable this development as well, since you joined the call.
Awesome. Excited to kick it off. So I think we're particularly interested in the privacy aspect because Stork actually has this like unique architecture where that we've integrated right with Horizen, where by default not all data is pushed on chain. And historically, the idea around putting with oracles or part of like a mismatch or an issue with oracles has been like by default every data point is put on a public blockchain. And so we've always had this mindset of like only certain information should be pushed on chain and at certain times. And part of that is for efficiency, right, around costs, but it's also around what's viable sometimes as a data provider. You don't want to put like, if we're working with third-party data providers, sometimes they don't want every single data point put on a public blockchain because that prohibits, that cannibalizes their business, right? So if you put your entire data product on a public blockchain, now anyone can query it or access it or rip it off without actually paying for it. So from like a very maybe potentially like niche perspective, I think it's really interesting where making information that's available on a blockchain not publicly accessible by default is really interesting for third-party data providers as we start to work with those types of folks and onboard them into the blockchain ecosystem. And then a little bit more removed directly from our core business line, we are also interested, I think, from a trading perspective. So we've prior to actually working at Stork, I worked at a crypto native high frequency trading firm, and most of their business was specifically focused on trading on centralized exchanges. And they did have a little bit of hesitancy moving into on-chain trading because they weren't used to all of their trades to being public. And a lot of traditional institutions feel that way as well. So we're also excited about the introduction of privacy, making basically these applications more accessible to a wider audience or a larger audience.
Awesome. Thanks, Meredith. Jonah, what do you think? You've been in this space for quite a while. Where's privacy going to make an impact in 2026?
Definitely. So I think the place that privacy is going to make the biggest impact is on the payments side of things. And I think payments is a use case we're really seeing an acceleration in across the industry as stablecoins gain product market fit outside of just crypto, whether that's vendor payments or payroll. Those are the two really critical payments use cases that we see from folks that are using Den across our different product lines. And for both of those things, you want privacy, right? As an employer, you want privacy around who is getting paid how much on your team. And as a vendor, you want privacy around what your different customers are paying from a competitive perspective. And so payments, in my opinion, are the area that is going to be the biggest unlock for privacy. I can't share too much, but we've started having conversations with some large fintechs, financial institutions, and banks. And alongside security, which is one of our core offerings and promises around a multi-signature wallet, privacy as well as compliance are their next biggest focuses. And that's obviously on the payment side, but then alongside that balances what assets a individual or organization is actually holding. And I think the really challenging part with this is that by leaking some information, you can infer a lot of other information. And so the question is how do you ensure privacy across every spectrum of possible information? Whereas, your balance might be private, but if your payments are public, someone can infer your balance by indexing the blockchain. So I think that's where privacy is really going to make a major difference for folks for scaling outside of just our little Web3 ecosystem into the much, much larger trillion-dollar banking, finance, financial services ecosystems.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonah. I think I mentioned the stack here, whether that was proper reverse order or not. I don't recall. I may have flubbed that, but I want to go Andrew, Matt, and then JRP.
Yeah, I think first of all, you're totally right that at DevConnect privacy was such a hot topic. It really was something that everyone was talking about. I think what I'm really excited to see, I don't know if you've heard this term, I call it the DeFi mullet, where it's basically Web 2 in the front, Web 3 in the back. And I think that's going to be a really key component of mass adoption of this tech, especially as tokenization, really starts to kind of just become the default infrastructure for a lot of finance. I think privacy is going to be really important because a lot of people are going to be using apps where they might not even realize that it's powered by tokenization and stablecoins in the back end. And I think that the default is they would just expect it to be private, right? Like you open Wells Fargo, your checking account, and you use that. You're just going to assume that, that's private because that's how it's always been. So I think as we're going to see more apps kind of adopt this tokenization technology, the assumption will be that it will be private and safe. So I think that, a lot of people will be using these products that are powered by DeFi, powered by stablecoins, tokenization, and they might not even know because it's the DeFi mullet, right? And I think in that specific scenario, it's going to be really important for privacy to just be a guarantee because it will just be assumed by a lot of people who just aren't familiar with the technology. So really excited about that because I feel that pretty much everything is going on chain. I kind of like to think of it this way. And right now we don't say we work at internet companies, right? Because every company uses the internet. I kind of feel that we're going in that direction with on chain where we're right now crypto companies, but I think it will just touch everything and it will no longer be crypto companies. It'll just be companies because everything is tokenized. Everything is, payments are all stable coins. Everything is on chain in the back end. So when everything's on chain, privacy is going to be super critical because it's just going to be expected.
Yeah, love that. Matt, I'm gonna actually insert a little bit of a wrinkle here for you since you work so close to the fundamental chain level, and I think about privacy existing at the application level. How close are we going to see privacy make it to the chain level? What do we hear? What do you foresee with how Vitalik is talking about privacy for Ethereum, and where is privacy going to fit into that, infra all the way up to application and end user stack?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think different blockchains are going to take different approaches. I think one of the great things about having, a general purpose kind of computing layer is that you get to kind of choose the amount of privacy that you want, and I think that's the approach that I think makes the most sense for like an EVM focused environment, right? Like with Horizen, you guys are going to provide a ton of privacy focused tooling that developers can tap into. Then obviously the chain is very dedicated to privacy, and I think with that you'll see different applications on the chain choosing different levels of privacy, what they want to make private, what they're okay with making public, etc. Um, I think broadly, like the thing I'm most excited about is that tooling and moving from like private tokens, right, like the original Zencash, Zcash, and applications, right, like Tornado Cash, which fundamentally are privacy applications, but we're focused just on sending tokens around, to integrating privacy more deeply in more complex applications like DeFi, and then also gaming, which I think has kind of died off a little bit as a Web3 narrative. But if you think about most games, almost all games have a private component, right? There are some that don't, like chess, but almost everything else has some sort of hidden state. And so one of the things I'm most excited about is just as privacy tooling gets better, like just enabling more complex applications to leverage privacy in really creative ways.
Love it. Never thought about that. Chess, every move is out in the open. So we need private battleship, basically, where the entire other half of the game board is shrouded in secrecy. JRP, we got you hooked into the stream here from Third Web. Want to give you a chance, since we're excited to have Third Web partnered in the Horizen ecosystem, to give a few minutes here describing what you enable in the Builder ecosystem before we move to a couple Q&A questions that have come through over Twitter, and then bring it in for a landing. So tell us more about what you're bringing to the mix from Third Web.
Cool. First of all, thanks for having me here. Apologies for earlier. I was connected to the wrong internet, so just early morning issues. But it's great to see everybody. And yeah, Third Web is very much so focused in on, I think Andrew said it very well, it's like we're seeing this next generation of the internet come to life. And there's a variety of ways to really think about that. In 10 years from now, 99% of the internet will likely be agents, and 1% of the internet will be humans, whereas vice versa. That's what's 99% of the internet is humans today. We are bringing the infrastructure stack for any developer to build for this next generation of internet, which includes all the things that you need to ensure that you can create your own app economy, including things like wallets, making sure that you have the higher level index data you need to showcase to your users, RPCs, AI tools to build within your own product. And also, I think one of the things that we more recently have been launching is X402 and agentic payments. So going back and actually talking about privacy here, very similar, and I totally agree with what everybody has been saying. Privacy equates to compliance, and for those who are neobanks and are really pushing in this and seeing volume, they're going to have to be compliant. And same thing goes for agents. As agents start taking up a lot more of our economical activity, they themselves will need privacy as they're interacting with each other. And so as we provide this full stack for a developer or an agent to go out and complete this new business model that is not so much reliant on middlemen taking part of their transactions and connecting people to people, we're very much focused on what does that look like for agents as well. And again, thinking about what privacy looks like there, which will be a very interesting concept as more and more agents start to come online. I think people today talk about X402 like it's a plane flying in the air, but in reality, it's barely getting built. I think people are just speccing it out, if anything. And so it's going to be interesting as things start to heat up and we see real use cases come from this agentic payments and in general, the payment layer in which crypto does really well in.
Yeah, well said. And I think as you and Andrew have keyed on how this is becoming the new normal, perhaps, right? We don't say we work in internet companies. We just work at companies that use the internet. We're just going to be working at companies that use blockchain. It's a reminder, though, that we are building frontier technology still. Blockchain is still frontier tech, and especially X402, the agentic economy, very much frontier tech. So I want to say thank you again to all of our fellow frontiers people here with us. If we're going out onto that frontier, I'm glad to be doing it along partners such as yourselves, so that we can establish this new on-chain territory. We do have a couple questions that have come in from Twitter, and then we can add a few closing remarks. This first one I'm happy to handle. Someone has asked about our approach to tokenomics and any mechanisms for token burning or buybacks. We have this Zen token, 21 million token supply, and this is a chain that launched without a TGE or an ICO. The coins have already all been in existence, right? So it's not some flashy or Christmas tree looking chart where you launch just to see everybody rush out right after. To answer this question, we announced in, I believe it was November, the relaunch of Zen staking. And this new staking program is going to be central to the tokenomics of the Horizen ecosystem. We are currently building out the tokenomics model. We are looking at a liquid staking token, for instance, and really the most important thing is finding sustainable sources of yield, right? Everybody loves to get tokens out from staking, and the question is, how do we sustainably build an ecosystem to provide those rewards back to network participants? So we are working closely with ecosystem partners, especially those who have come through our ecosystem fund, to meaningfully loop into this tokenomics flywheel that we're building for Zen staking. So we're very much at the forefront of this development right now, and in end of year working sessions and planning out the mechanics of this. It's a very methodical team, a very thoughtful team, and one that has been here for 8 years and is looking at a long-term mindset. So the tokenomics model there is certainly vital to attain that sustainability. The second question here, and I think I'll pass this to you, Rob, to answer, and I know that you've got some additional thoughts. The question is around strategies or initiatives to encourage on-chain privacy solution adoption, especially amongst enterprises and larger financial institutions.
I mean, it's still TBD, to be frank. I think about strategy in push-pull terms, right? So I think what we can do on the technology level is our goal, where we're starting now, where we launch, is not the end goal at all. Like we have a highly performant L3 Dom and team. We're going to be launching a coprocessor based on TE technology. We're going to keep layering more tech. We have a kind of a tech roadmap, alluded to in the white paper. So you can see from the environment that we'll be providing will be increasingly better for privacy applications over time. And by over time, I mean like actually fast. So that's part of it. But I think like for me, fundamentally, it's like we don't want to create our own silo, even though we say we're in the base ecosystem. Like our goal ultimately is like, what I want, the vision is like, I want every application in base to be able to just literally toggle like we could do in our browser for like private browsing mode. I literally want you to be able to toggle private mode on whatever application you're on and have that order flow or that transaction flow route through like what is Horizen. So to me, Horizen it is a concept more than it is a piece of infrastructure, because infrastructure, as we've proven, is going to be rotating over time and evolving, and sometimes outright swapped out. It's really the vision though. Like we will be bringing best-in-class privacy to Web3, and then Web3 will just be the digital world, and probably like JRP, like an agent-driven digital world. That's part of it. The other side of it is really on the demand side, and I will say, like what we're doing at Horizen Labs, and where we have agency and where we can actually focus and make a difference, is we're actually going to be retooling like a good chunk of our company to be like rapid product iteration focused. We've been platform and protocol builders since we started, and we are going to go hard on like some very serious tech talent and cryptography talent towards the application of ZK and the application of cryptography into a variety of domains, like in a variety of business types. And I think that's going to be a really interesting strategy for kind of not just, yes, we have the usual grant strategy and we're bringing lots of really interesting projects into our ecosystem, but I think also there's room and like going to be a really interesting role for Horizen Labs in accelerating this on that. And of course, like incentives, like it really does come to incentives. And from the earliest days of Bitcoin, like my thing was, like Satoshi did a great job for bootstrapping, this type of, crypto ecosystem. But what happens to the marginal, by margin, I mean, the developer, the young dev 5 years from now? Like, how does the young dev 5 years from now, benefit from Bitcoin, or from these early crypto projects where the tokens are already out there? And Clive, like you mentioned, like Zen, every Zen that will ever exist has already been minted, right? And it's already out there, widely distributed, like very widely distributed, which is fantastic. But how do new developers, new business owners and entrepreneurs, or other contributors to the ecosystem participate in an economically meaningful way? I think that's the third element that we need to get right. And we have some ideas, we have a sustainability initiative. Clive mentioned the revival of a staking program linked to our grant program, so we can have new projects that actually flow resources back through to the community. There's lots of different ways that we can tackle this. We're going to take a stab at it, and I think we have really good ideas, but I can promise you it's going to be an evolving process.
Yeah, well said, Rob. We are, again, so enthusiastic about the mainnet milestone that we've reached. It is a process. This is a team and a larger project that has been evolving in plain sight for the market to see for years, and will continue to make an impact in the on-chain privacy space, and especially the on-chain business space, where privacy is a practical concern more than an ideological one. Grateful to be aligned with such great infrastructure partners here. If you are a developer who's been listening in, thanks for your attention. Please go check out the new Horizen website at horizen.io. We have developer docs there. You'll find onboarding guides for all of our partners here: Den, Stork, Gold Sky, Third Web. We've got Caldera running under the hood. We want to hear about your privacy applications. I'm Clive Onchain on X. My DMs are open. Always happy to hear what you're building. The Horizen Labs team, if you are in any business case where you're exploring moving on chain and privacy is essential, we want to hear from you and potentially be a development partner. And thank you to the community for tuning in and for following the project for as long as you have. We're very excited to be at this mainnet milestone and building with you all into 2026 and beyond. So thank you again to our guests, to our listeners, and we are excited to continue delivering now and in the future. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you to you.